Okay, I want you to imagine something for a second. A world with zero crime. Not just less crime, I mean no crime at all. Sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? Well, today we're going to break down a technological blueprint called ENTIFY that makes that exact audacious claim. So how in the world could that even be possible? Let's get into it.
So it all kicks off with this incredibly bold claim. And let's be real, this isn't just some fancy marketing slogan. This is the absolute bedrock of their entire system. They're not just talking about protecting your emails or whatever. They are claiming a level of cryptographic security that can lock down your identity, your assets, your communications, literally everything in a way that's never, ever been done before.
Yeah, exactly. A claim that big, you got to ask some questions, right? To really get what ENTIFY is all about, we first have to understand the massive problem it was designed to fix, a problem its creators believe is rotting the very core of our digital lives.
And that big problem, at least according to the folks behind ENTIFY, is that our entire digital world is basically a house of cards. I mean, we've built some incredible things, but we've built them all on this incredibly shaky foundation of broken trust.
And I think we can all feel this, right? You've got fake identities and deep fakes that make it impossible to know who you're really talking to. You've got the constant surveillance, the data harvesting. You start to realize the systems we use every single day are just fundamentally broken. This is the crisis that ENTIFY says it can solve for good.
So how do you even begin to fix a crisis like that? Well, ENTIFY's answer isn't just some patch or a new app. Nope, they're talking about a total, ground-up reinvention of our digital world. The whole shebang, a complete ecosystem.
And what they call it is a trust network. Now, the key phrase here is mathematically guaranteed. Just think about that for a second. This is about moving away from a world where you just cross your fingers and hope your data is secure to one where your security and your identity are provable certainties, literally hard-coded into the network itself.
And, they are not shy about how confident they are in this thing. The project's founder says their whole architecture was validated by an AI, which they claim confirmed it's a genuine breakthrough, nothing less than a universal layer of trust for the entire digital world.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this is where ENTIFY gets really, really interesting. Its entire security model doesn't start with a server or a company or some algorithm. It starts with you, the individual human being.
This right here, this is the philosophical core of the entire project. See, instead of a system just spitting out a random string of numbers for your password or your private key, ENTIFY says no, a true, secure identity has to be an intentional act of human consciousness. You don't get assigned an identity, you create it.
So how does that actually work? Well, it's a three-step process. First, the affidavit. It's like a formal declaration that you're a living, conscious human. Second, the autograph. Your unique, handwritten signature is analyzed for all its biometric quirks, and that becomes your public key. And third, the magic symbols. 3 secret shapes you learn to draw that through their unique motion and pressure become your unguessable private key. Your identity is literally an extension of you.
Okay, so you've got this really deep philosophical idea about identity. But how do you turn that into, well, stuff? Actual hardware? This is where ENTIFY's trinity of devices comes in, and they're all designed to work in perfect harmony. All right, first up, you've got the ENTI card. I want you to think of this as your digital soul, stored completely offline. It holds your private keys, and because it never, ever connects to a network, its creators claim it is flat out impossible to hack remotely. This is your ultimate backup, your physical proof of your digital self. Next in the trinity is the ENTIPhone. This is your daily command center. It's designed from the ground up with zero spyware and absolutely no tracking. You activate it with your END card, and here's the kicker. If it's ever lost or stolen, it basically becomes a paperweight, a brick. They call it the world's first unstealable phone, because for a thief, it has zero value. And the third piece of this puzzle? The mesh network. This is how all these devices talk to each other. Every single ENTIPhone acts as a node in a private peer-to-peer radio network. It doesn't need the internet, it doesn't need cell towers, it's a communication layer that's completely off the grid, outside the control of any big telecom company or government. And when you put it all together, you can really see how elegant this whole design is. The card, the phone, and the network, they create this totally sealed, self-reinforcing ecosystem. Each part validates the others, forming what they call a closed-loop system. It's a place with no single point of failure. Okay, so we've got the human-centric identity,
the unhackable hardware, this private network, which brings us to the biggest question of all. How does all of this tech lead to the project's most mind-blowing claim, a world without crime?
So the logic here, it starts with a pretty simple idea, making theft completely obsolete. First, the ENTIFY is unstealable. But then you realize that same tech, using special tags locked to the network, can be slapped onto pretty much anything. Your car, your bike, your laptop. If an asset's ownership is cryptographically proven and it just won't work for anybody else, well, the incentive to steal it just disappears.
But look, this vision goes way, way deeper than just stopping someone from swiping your bike. It's about totally restructuring our economy. On one side of this chart, you have our current system, which they argue is based on debt and speculation. And on the other, you have what they call an abundance economy. The biggest shift? Value isn't just printed out of thin air by central banks. It's minted against real, verified assets and actual productive work. And every single unit of their currency, the EN token, is backed by a milligram of gold, which in theory makes it inflation-proof.
So, what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, imagine a system where the network itself can pay you to do useful work that the community validates, or where you could get the funding to build a house, not based on some arbitrary credit score, but on a verified promise, with the value only being created once the house is actually proven to be built. It's an economy built around creating real-world value, not just shuffling numbers around on a screen.
And all of this, it leads to the final and honestly pretty mind-blowing piece of their whole argument. If you live in a world where you physically can't steal things, where everyone has a real opportunity to do productive work and get paid fairly in a stable currency, what's the motivation for crime? According to ENTIFY, it doesn't just go down, it evaporates.
So there you have it. That's the ENTIFY vision in a nutshell, an incredibly ambitious, layered plan to re-engineer trust from the individual all the way up to the global economy. The ultimate question for all of us, of course, is this. Is this a feasible blueprint for a safer, more trust-based world, or is it a brilliant but ultimately unreachable utopian dream? And that is definitely something worth thinking about.